Ever wonder what happens behind the scenes of your favorite Snickers bar? Hint, it's not just a bunch of peanuts and chocolate hanging out. Get ready to watch candy-making magic as we reveal how these bars come together. And trust me, you'll be hungry for more. Pun totally intended. Let's take a trip back to 1930. Picture this. The Mars family is already riding high on the success of their Milky Way bar. But Frank Mars wanted something new, something different, something that would make people's taste buds dance with joy. Imagine the Mars family sitting around their kitchen table, ideas flying back and forth. How about we add nuts? What if we make it chewier? They're brainstorming, trying to come up with the next big thing in candy. Then, someone mentions the family's favorite horse. Just like that, the name Snickers is born. Now, they've got a name. But what about the candy itself? This is where things get really interesting. The Mars family starts experimenting with different ingredients. They're mixing and matching, trying to find that perfect combination. One day, they thought they had it. They mixed a new nougat recipe with caramel, covered it in chocolate, and took a bite. But it wasn't quite right. Back to the drawing board they went. They tried different types of nougat. They play around with various nuts. They test different ratios of caramel to chocolate. It's like a delicious science experiment happening right in their kitchen. Can you imagine the smell of all that melted chocolate and caramel? Finally, after countless taste tests, they hit the jackpot. Nougat? Check. Caramel? Check. Peanuts? Check. And a generous coating of milk chocolate to hold it all together. They take a bite, and boom, they know they've struck gold. So there you have it. Snickers is born, named after a horse but destined for candy greatness. It's funny when you think about it. This candy bar that's been satisfying hunger for decades all started because of a family's love for their horse. Talk about an unlikely inspiration. But creating the perfect candy bar was just the beginning. The Mars family had a bigger challenge ahead of them. How do you take this kitchen creation and turn it into something that can be enjoyed by people all across the country? And eventually, the world? That's where the real work began. They had to figure out how to make Snickers on a much larger scale without losing that homemade taste. It's like trying to replicate your grandma's secret recipe. But instead of making it for a family dinner, you're making it for millions of people. The Mars family had to become part confectioner, part engineer. They were pioneers in the world of mass-produced candy, figuring things out as they went along. Every time you unwrap a Snickers bar, you're holding a piece of candy-making history in your hands. Making Snickers bars wasn't always a high-tech affair. In the early days, it was all about manual labor. Workers stirred huge vats of nougat, carefully spread caramel, and placed peanuts by hand. It was slow and messy, but it got the job done. Unlike some other candy bars of the time that used simpler processes, Snickers required multiple layers and ingredients, making it more challenging to produce. As Snickers grew in popularity, the Mars family knew they needed a better way. They couldn't just keep hiring more people. In the 1940s, they introduced their first automated machines. It was a game changer. Conveyor belts replaced human hands, speeding up production like never before. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Early automation attempts faced challenges. Machines struggled with the sticky caramel and fragile chocolate coating. The Mars family had to get creative, developing special equipment to handle each step of the process. Let's take a closer look at how these early machines worked. First, there was the nougat maker. It mixed and fluffed up the nougat until it was just right, then spread it out evenly. Next came the caramel. A special machine heated it up and poured it over the nougat, covering every bit. Then it was time for the peanuts. A machine sprinkled them over the caramel, letting them sink in just a little. The whole thing was cut into those familiar Snickers shapes we know and love. The final step? A chocolate bath. The bars went through an enrober, like a chocolate waterfall that coated each one completely. Cool air blew on them to harden the chocolate quickly. All of this happened much faster than by hand, but it was still slower than today's production. Early automated factories could make thousands of bars a day compared to millions now. Even with all this new technology, the basic Snickers recipe stayed the same. It's still that winning combo of nougat, caramel, peanuts, and chocolate that people fell in love with almost a century ago. Of course, as technology improved, so did Snickers production. Today's machines are super high-tech, using computers to control everything from chocolate temperature to peanut count. Some can even spot and remove imperfect bars. But even with all these cool machines, making Snickers isn't always easy. Sometimes things go wrong. Maybe the caramel gets too hot, or the chocolate doesn't coat evenly. That's why there are still people in the factories, keeping an eye on everything and making sure it all runs smoothly. All right, we've seen how machines crank out millions of Snickers bars, but here's the real kicker: making sure each one tastes exactly the same. It's all about the science behind the recipe. Let's break it down. First up, we've got the nougat. This stuff is the foundation of the whole bar. In huge steel vats, they mix sugar, corn syrup, and water, heating it to just the right temperature. Too hot, and it'll burn. Too cool, and it won't set right. Then comes the tricky part: adding whipped egg whites. This gives the nougat that fluffy texture we all love. Now it's time for the caramel. This golden goodness gives Snickers its gooey center. They melt sugar, milk, and butter together in another big pot. The catch? They have to cook it to the exact right temperature. If it's too runny, it'll ooze out of the bar. Too firm, and you might chip a tooth. It's a delicate balance, and they've got it down to a science. Let's talk peanuts. Each Snickers bar has exactly 16 peanuts. These peanuts are carefully selected, roasted, and chopped to give you that perfect crunch in every bite. It's like a nutty orchestra in your mouth. Now for the grand finale, the chocolate coating. They use a process called enrobing. Picture a chocolate waterfall that the bars pass through. This ensures every nook and cranny is covered in chocolatey goodness. Then they cool it down fast to get that smooth, shiny finish. How do they keep all this consistent when they're making millions of bars every day? It's all about precision and quality control. They've got machines that measure ingredients with the accuracy of a scientific experiment. There are even special cameras that check each bar to make sure it looks just right. And it's not just about the machines. People are involved in every step of the process. They're the ones who make sure the nougat is fluffy enough. The caramel is the right consistency, and the chocolate coating is perfect. It's like a well-choreographed dance between humans and machines. The basic recipe for Snickers hasn't changed much since 1930. Your grandparents might have enjoyed a Snickers bar that tasted almost exactly like the one you had yesterday. So next time you unwrap a Snickers, take a moment to appreciate all the work that went into it. From the perfectly fluffy nougat to the precisely cooked caramel, from the exactly 16 peanuts to the smooth chocolate coating. It's all there for a reason. It's a little piece of food science you can hold in your hand. Now that we've seen how all those ingredients come together, let's take a closer look at the assembly line magic that brings Snickers bars to life. In a modern Snickers factory, it's more like a high-tech dance of machines and precision. Let's follow a Snickers bar on its journey. It starts as a sheet of nougat rolling out on a conveyor belt. Special machines cut it into perfect bar-sized pieces, all exactly the same thickness. Next, it's time for the caramel river. A steady stream of golden caramel flows over the nougat, coating it evenly. The machines control the flow, so each bar gets just the right amount. Now comes the peanut shower. Machines drop exactly 16 peanuts onto each bar. It's like a nutty rainstorm, with each peanut finding its spot on the caramel layer. Then it's time for the grand finale, the chocolate waterfall. The bars go through twice, getting double dipped for extra chocolatey goodness. After their chocolate dip, the bars cruise through cooling tunnels. These tunnels are set at just the right temperature to make the chocolate harden evenly without messing up the gooey insides. It's like a chocolate spa treatment for each bar. All of this happens at lightning speed. Modern Snickers factories can churn out millions of bars every single day. The machines work together in a carefully choreographed dance, creating those delicious candy bars we know and love faster than you can blink. But even with all this high-tech machinery, there are still people keeping an eye on everything. These eagle-eyed workers watch for any hiccups in the process. Maybe a bar didn't get enough peanuts or the chocolate coating isn't quite right. They spot these issues and fix them before they become a problem. It's like quality control meets candy detective work. After all that assembly line action, the bars go through one more step. They're wrapped up tight in special packaging that keeps them fresh. These wrapping machines are so fast, they can package hundreds of bars every minute. It's like watching a magician do a super speed wrapping trick. So next time you unwrap a Snickers, think about its journey. From nougat sheets to caramel rivers, from peanut showers to chocolate waterfalls, every bar has been through quite an adventure. It's not just a snack, it's a little marvel of modern engineering wrapped up in a tasty chocolate package. So we've seen how Snickers bars come together, but here's the real question. How do they make sure every single bar is perfect? With millions of bars rolling off the production line every day, you'd think a few duds would slip through. But that's not the case at all. Let's take a peek behind the scenes at the quality control process that keeps Snickers so consistent. First up, we've got some seriously high-tech machines on the job. These aren't your average robots. They're more like candy bar detectives. As each Snickers moves down the line, cameras scan it from every angle. They're looking for any little problem, like a bar that's not quite the right shape or size. If the chocolate coating isn't even, these eagle-eyed machines will spot it right away. But it's not just about looks. These machines are checking the weight of each bar too. They want to make sure you're getting exactly what you paid for. Not too much, not too little, but just right. It's like each Snickers is getting its own personal weigh-in. Now, you might be thinking, that's cool and all, but can a machine really tell if a Snickers tastes right? Great question. And that's where the human touch comes in. Believe it or not, there are actual people whose job it is to taste test Snickers bars. These taste testers sample bars from each batch to make sure they taste just like they should. They're checking for the perfect balance of nougat, caramel, peanuts, and chocolate. Quality control has evolved over time. In the early days, it was all done manually. Now, with advanced technology, they can check thousands of bars in minutes. But they still keep that human element, combining the best of both worlds. Mars, the company behind Snickers, also pays close attention to consumer feedback. If customers start noticing something different about their Snickers, the quality control team will investigate and make adjustments to ensure every bar meets expectations. With all these checks in place, you might wonder how many bars actually fail the test. The truth is, not many at all. The production process is so fine-tuned that most bars come out perfect. But for the few that don't make the cut, they don't go to waste. These bars often get recycled back into the production process. This focus on quality doesn't just make for a better candy bar. It's a big part of why Snickers has stayed on top for so long. When you pick up a Snickers, you know exactly what you're getting. That consistency is key to keeping customers coming back and supporting the brand's image. But Snickers isn't just about staying the same. While they keep the classic bar consistent, they're always coming up with new variations. Think about all the different Snickers you've seen. Snickers with almonds, Snickers ice cream bars, even Snickers with extra protein. This mix of consistency and innovation is what keeps Snickers on top of the candy game. We've seen how Snickers keeps their chocolate bars consistent and tasty, but there's more to their success than just what's inside the wrapper. Let's take a look at how Snickers became a household name through some clever marketing magic. Back in the 1980s, Snickers first started calling itself the Hunger Satisfier. It was a simple idea, but it stuck. Fast forward to 2010, and Snickers came up with something even better. Remember those ads where people act all weird and grumpy until they eat a Snickers? That's the "You're Not You When You're Hungry" campaign. And it changed the game for Snickers. This campaign was a big hit because it's something we can all relate to. Everyone knows that cranky feeling when they're hungry, right? Snickers took that everyday experience and turned it into something funny. They showed celebrities transforming into completely different people when they're hungry. One minute you've got a famous actor, the next they're a grumpy old man. It was simple, but it worked like a charm. The best part? Snickers didn't just stick to one country or one type of ad. They spread this idea all over the world. In different countries, they used local celebrities to make the ads feel just right for each place. It's like they're saying, "Hey, we get you, no matter where you live." This smart move helped Snickers connect with people all around the globe. These ads didn't just make people laugh. They actually helped Snickers sell more bars. After they started running these commercials, Snickers saw their market share grow. That means more people were choosing Snickers over other candy bars. But Snickers didn't stop there. They kept finding new ways to use this idea. They started sponsoring big sports events and partnering with popular video games. It's like they're always finding new ways to remind us about Snickers, even when we're not watching TV. All this clever marketing keeps Snickers in the spotlight. It's not just a candy bar anymore. It's become part of our culture. People quote the ads, make memes about them, and even use "you're not you when you're hungry" in everyday conversation. While they keep the jokes coming, Snickers always makes sure to show the candy bar in their ads. They remind us of that perfect mix of nougat, caramel, peanuts, and chocolate. It's like they're saying, hey, remember why you loved us in the first place? But here's where things get tricky. These days, people are more health conscious than ever. So how does a chocolate bar stay relevant in a world that's becoming more focused on nutrition? Snickers has started to adapt to these changing tastes. They've introduced things like Snickers with extra protein and Snickers with less sugar. It's like they're trying to give us the best of both worlds. That classic Snickers taste we love, but with a bit of a health twist. So we've seen Snickers try to keep up with health trends, but there's a lot more happening behind the scenes. Mars, the company behind Snickers, is making big moves in sustainability. They're not just thinking about our taste buds anymore, but about the whole planet. Mars is using clean wind power in all their US factories. That's a big step, but they've set even bigger goals. By 2025, they want all Snickers packaging to be eco-friendly. Think about how many Snickers bars are sold every day. Now imagine all those wrappers being good for the environment. It's like your favorite snack is getting a green makeover. But Mars isn't stopping at packaging. They're going right back to the beginning, the farms where they get their ingredients. They're teaching peanut farmers how to use less water and fewer pesticides. It's like turning farmers into environmental superheroes, and it doesn't stop with peanuts. Mars is looking at new ways to grow cocoa too. They're experimenting with shade trees and something called agroforestry. It sounds complicated, but it's actually pretty cool. It's all about growing cocoa in a way that's good for the environment and helps fight climate change. So every bite of a Snickers might be helping to save a little piece of the planet. Mars has set some big targets in their sustainability roadmap. By 2030, they aim to reduce greenhouse gas emissions across their value chain. They're also working to make their plastic packaging more environmentally friendly. Consumer demand is a big driver behind these changes. People want snacks that taste good and do good. Mars is listening, and they're working to meet these expectations while keeping that classic Snickers flavor we all know and love. They're not just focusing on sustainability, though. Mars is also experimenting with new flavors to keep things fresh. Have you heard of the Snickers peanut brownie? It's just one of the new varieties they're trying out. But don't worry, the original Snickers bar isn't going anywhere. It's like they're saying, we can try new things, but we'll never forget what made us great in the first place. All this change isn't just about being trendy. Mars is looking at the big picture. They know that if they want to keep making Snickers for years to come, they need to think about the future of the planet. It's not just about satisfying our hunger anymore. It's about feeding innovation and sustainability. As we look to the future, one thing's clear. Snickers isn't just sitting back and resting on its chocolatey laurels. They're pushing forward, trying to make their bars not just tasty, but also good for the planet. It's like they're on a mission to prove that even a simple candy bar can make a difference in the world. Snickers has evolved from a horse's name to a global phenomenon. Mars now produces enough bars yearly to feed every American twice. They're not just satisfying our sweet tooth, though. Mars is going green with eco-friendly packaging goals and teaching farmers water conservation. They're even exploring climate-friendly cocoa growing methods. When you unwrap a Snickers, you're holding a piece of candy-making history and innovation. It's more than just a snack. It's a step towards sustainability. So take a bite and enjoy. Who knows what's next for Snickers? Maybe we'll see new flavors or even more eco-friendly innovations. Don't miss our next video, where we might just reveal how those colorful M&Ms get their candy shells.